You're the reason celebrities look like this now. You blocked the Suez Canal. You're the reason LeBron's hairline receded. Look at you. Can't even defend yourself. Can't even Dougie properly. Okay, sorry, I was just trying to get your attention. I'm actually responsible for everything that I just listed, especially the LeBron hairline. I snuck into his house and I plucked those hairs out with my teeth. Let's try that again. You look really lovely. You smell good too. You didn't shower today, did you? Plastic surgery has been a staple in Hollywood since its very inception. Rita Hayworth used to be Asian. Okay, that's not true. But her studio did actually make her undergo procedures to make her look less Spanish. They really said, deflamenco her. Imagine what they would have done to Teresa from The Real Housewives of New Jersey.
I feel like I could come to you because I always respected your hairline on television. Okay.
But as of late, it seems as if the tweaks have become too apparent, too odd, and are being performed on people that are getting younger and younger. The comment about you being the reason that celebrities look like this was made in jest, but there is something to be said about our complicitness in the culture that would even enable people to alter their appearance to this extent, and frankly, rewards this behavior. Because I'm gonna be real with you. If I was in a lot of these people's shoes, I might also be a guest in the uncanny valley. Let me explain. The question that I keep hearing amidst this alteration epidemic is, why would anyone do this to themselves? Teacher? Yeah, I can answer that question for you. Teacher. Oh my god, I really am such an immigrant. First, they're not technically intending on looking botched. It's just something that can happen. And more importantly, these people usually do not look as strange as social media would have you think. Now, take Selena Gomez and these shots from her recent music video In the Dark. Now, I saw these stills and I thought, what is going on? But then I actually watched the music video, and the song, it's a little bop, some retro production. It made me feel like I was swaying in a club pre 9/11. These shots are from the video and they don't seem to be edited, but they're clearly taken at points in the video where the lighting just makes the work that she's gotten done a lot more obvious. I should say alleged work. Allegedly. I went to the Wendy Williams School of avoiding slander lawsuits, okay? But she looks fairly normal, throughout the rest of the video. Like, you can tell she's gotten some tweaks done, but I still think she looks very pretty, especially in the black and white shots where she kind of looks like a glamorous stepmother that's emotionally negligent. My brain always likes to paint a story. What can I say? I'm a storyteller. I'm insufferable. And this is applicable to a lot of the people whose recent transformations have made headlines. If you were to just see them not glammed up, not in harsh lighting, and also usually in motion, they look a lot more normal. Also, the bleached eyebrows just automatically make anyone look alien-esque, but in a way that's like, French. It just makes them look like a secretary in a dystopian city. Plus, when you start altering your face, usually you're getting it like tweak by tweak, and your brain just gets acclimated to how you look. So I don't think that a lot of these people actually realize how different they look until they see maybe like a before and after side by side, especially under not particularly flattering conditions, and that's when they go, oh, okay, I actually look different. Second, okay, and most importantly, body dysmorphia is relentless. And at this point, the norm, having to look at your own face as much as any influencer or celebrity will make you go insane. It's an inevitability. Take it from someone who used to edit my own content for years before I outsourced it, like the consummate American that I am. So it turns out that my chin descends slightly more so on the right side, like I have an asymmetrical jaw. I did not notice this until I saw several screenshots of me talking, and then I couldn't stop noticing it every time I saw footage of me speaking. And I thought, dang, have I been looking like Mac Tonight this whole time? And then a few people were so kind as to bring it up in my comment section. Somebody on Reddit said that I had a grave digger chin. What you say? Oh, that it don't mean well. I sustained emotional damage from a Redditor, of all people. That's like getting hit by a child sniper. I hope all the game stops and their tri-state area closed down. Freaking asthmatic dweeb. Our brains are not wired to look at ourselves this much. Seriously, like, we evolved to maybe get a glance of ourselves in, a clear puddle every once in a while, and we'd go, dang, I might be the hottest girl in my cave. Or frankly, we're not even meant to look at other people this much, especially inordinately attractive ones. And you add to that public scrutiny, which, being like a D-list internet celebrity, I was spared from. I might get an occasional comment here or there. Nobody's checking for me like that. I'm never gonna be subjected to being in a tabloid magazine with all of my physical flaws flaws exaggerated and highlighted. My gosh, that era of print media would have given anyone a complex. I know social media can be just as brutal, but what are the exact modern day equivalents to this? Like pop-up ads? Which usually the ones that I get just say, if you waterboard yourself with olive oil every night, it'll cure your AIDS. But sometimes you'll get one that's really out of pocket that'll say something like, you won't believe what this actress looks like now. Can you believe she used to actually be attractive? If I was like an actual public figure and I had to be subjected to people constantly pointing out my physical flaws, joking about how I have a long back, and I end up becoming a meme, a funny one, somebody tweets out that I'm built like a deep breath, got me humming slave hymns, I'd be tweaking out too. Scratch marks on my walls like a feral cat. And you add to that I actually have the money and the resources to get work done. And I'm also in an industry where I'm surrounded by a bunch of fake positive kombucha guzzlers saying, yeah girl, oh my gosh, no, you should do it, like it's your body. This is what like Susan B. Anthony and Miss Piggy fought for. It's actually unfeminist if you don't do it. I'm not saying if I was in that position I would automatically get the tweaks. If anything, I might actually keep my original features to spite people. Looking like your ancestors out of a sense of genuine self-love? No. Doing it as a form of revenge? Yes. But if anything, it would probably just backfire. I would get like op-eds or some article in a dumb magazine titled, Celebs Who Fight Back. I'm proud of my crooked chin. So now I'm backhandedly getting called chopped in print by a frickin' English lit major. And one who didn't even go to a good school. University of Arizona. Pfft. Please. What is your certificate, a turquoise bead? That actually might get me to start wearing like some sort of secular burqa out in public. I'd make it Cars themed. If I was like genuinely famous, I'd get fatwa'd so quick. All I am saying is that given those circumstances, I still do not like the plastic surgery industry, but I can understand why these people would be tempted. To make matters worse, imagine that on top of all of that, you're also in a hyper-competitive industry. Vain as all heck, it is one of the foundational principles of the industry. And even after you have proven yourself as a performer. Because this isn't just applicable to heartthrobs and up-and-comers who got their foot in the door by being cute. No. Even if you have been grinding in the industry for years, you have proven yourself. If you are no longer seen as marketable, which usually entails you being seen as relatively attractive, especially if you're playing a role that requires some level of like believable desirability. If you're not maintaining your looks, somebody else is just gonna get the gig. It's a zero-sum game. There's only so many well-rounded roles. And you can start producing your own projects and giving yourself those roles, but you might not be at that point yet. And even then, you're still gonna be at the mercy of the industry to some extent. And if you're not up for the challenge, Sydney Sweeney is galloping in on a chariot. And there's no horses attached either. Okay, it's getting pulled by gooners that have a daily 15 tweet quota. And oh, wait a minute. Oh, it's another contender, Jenna Ortega, or another inexplicably tiny up-and-comer with high cheekbones who comes in floating like a feather. I could hang Jenna Ortega on a keychain. She's the size of a tchotchke. I view celebs getting these procedures as being comparable to when athletes get roided up. Like, can you be an Olympian naturally? Technically, yes. Depending on the sport, people have done it, but what is being required of you as a performer is so rigid and unrealistic. In the case of being an entertainer, you basically have to defy time and gravity. And if you're an athlete, it's, I don't know, having to cycle for several hours through the backdrop of a millier. And shocker, who would have known the human body cannot physically accomplish this masochistic feat without some assistance? Even with phenomenal genetics, it's borderline impossible. Plus, everyone you're competing with is also getting help. There's millions of dollars on the line, and both also usually involve needles. See, I can draw parallels. I'm practically a professor. You know, at this point, I would say that like performance-enhancing substances are part of the male celebrity plastic surgery package combo deal. Are you a middle-aged actor whose body is naturally producing lower levels of testosterone because you are literally more than halfway done with your life? Aw, sorry. You still have to be unnaturally jacked to keep your Marvel contract. As if we can't count your bulging veins, a bunch of publications and men online who started lifting weights and won't shut up about it are gonna start calling your physique mid. Screw realism and health. People want the fantasy. And at a certain point, when you get off the gear, because eventually it's gonna take years off your life, get ready for the avalanche of people saying, dang, what happened? Bruh deflated. Does he have like cancer or something? Ladies, crippling body issues aren't just for us anymore. The men folk are catching up. Now, Now, is another part of the equation just standard vanity? It's not really any deeper than you just want people to still think that you're hot. Yeah, not every underlying motivation needs an entire dissertation. Sometimes vanity is just vanity. Being famous is like being in the Twilight Zone. Or if anything, it's more like a Greek tragedy. Because it is a fate of your own making. Unless you inadvertently become famous, like Casey Anthony or something. But, I mean, she gets away with it because she's so charming. Now, is there a possibility for change in the industry? No, probably not. Let's be real. Can there be any reform in an industry whose foundation is completely rotted? It's like trying to reform the weapons manufacturing industry. It's one of the reasons I would not encourage people to even go into show business. The trade-off of being famous and signing up for this life is not worth the effect that it has on you psychologically. Just go to trade school. We're always gonna need electricians. Matter of fact, that's why I drive by bully the theater kids at my local high school. I'm about to catch a hate crime charge. Look, Your Honor, I didn't know those kids were BLTQ&A. If I did, I would have included it in the insults. What makes this worse is that the public can be just as vain and unforgiving as the industry. I'm not talking about you though, honey pop, not you. You're special. You're different. Like, comment, and subscribe. The public does not dislike plastic surgery. The response to people getting these procedures is actually usually overwhelmingly positive. Let's be real. When people get tweaks to their face or body that are natural, subtle, the response is usually, wow, she looks great. She looks refreshed. She looks incredible. I mean, even after having kids. Even when the work isn't even subtle, it's blatantly obvious, but the work is done well. Think like Lindsay Lohan's new face debut, or even like Kris Jenner's facelift for that Hunger Games wedding. Was there some shock? Sure, but the general response was, well, the surgeons did a good job. They look good. So the indirect message is, we're actually fine with you altering your face. It just has to be seamless. Bonjour. I know, yo soy catfish, kind of. But I just thought, what is a better way of foregoing my own vanity and also quelling some of my crushing Catholic guilt than to mention that I am doing a charity thing kind of all December where I will feature a specific charity that I think is valuable, and I will link it either down below or I'll attach it as a link to this video, which I know you can do. And I thought, you know what, instead of yapping and complaining about all the problems in the world, why not put my money where my mouth is? So if you're watching this and you have any disposable income, I'm talking like even a single dollar, then please donate it down below. I'll obviously be donating some of my own money. However, at the end of this month, I'm hoping to have made reasonable contributions to various charities. I'm trying to focus on reputable charities that are ideally in the Congo, the Sudan, or Gaza, especially the former two, because I think the tragedies in those areas are getting overlooked because they're not considered as geopolitically interesting, unfortunately. So if you have any that you know are reputable, please, I would love to know down below. So if you could donate, great. If you can't donate, then you can spread the word. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Back to the video. The expectation is that you still maintain your looks and your youth, because if you don't, oh my, legions of unemployed people are gonna come for your neck. It's this impossible balancing act that has to be effortless, because if you dare fly too close to the Botox sun, I don't care if that metaphor makes no sense. If the work looks too obvious, or, God forbid, is botched, see, you can't let the veneer slip, literally and figuratively. There is no wizard. Your vanity and eagerness to do too much all at once is on full display now. You wanted the chemical peel, and the filler, and the baby and treatment. I'm not even making that one up. I know the QAnon crowd are gonna go crazy over that one. That might be Israel's third biggest export. Now, the public disapproval is not actually rooted in being against plastic surgery in principle. If anything, I think it's because these individuals broke the social contract between the public and the pretty people. They shattered the illusion. Like, let's be real, everybody knows. Everybody knows. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I tapped into Angelina Jolie for a moment. Because everyone knows when most of these people are getting nips and tucks. It's not exactly a secret, but you can't make it obvious. That's part of the agreement, don't you know? That facelift scar, that obvious Botox, is not only a reflection of your own vanity and vapidness, it's holding up a mirror to our own issues and unrealistic expectations, and we don't want to see that. The most concerning thing about a lot of these procedures is just how normalized they've become, to the point where I don't even notice fillers as much as I used to. Lip fillers in particular, especially if they're not egregiously large. Just consider how veneers, the normal looking ones, not the ones that look like you have a row of urinals in your mouth, it's like a low-level cosmetic procedure, is not really seen as being a big deal anymore. That got normalized very quickly. I mean, it had gradually become more normalized for decades, to the point where now cosmetic dentistry surgery, maybe not necessarily getting caps, but certainly getting braces, has been completely normalized to the extent that now children are allowed to openly get these procedures, encouraged to. The vast majority of the time, it has nothing to do with their dentition needing to be fixed. It's purely for aesthetic purposes. Think about how odd that actually is. We have children with metal wires wrapped around, part of their skeleton to beat their teeth into submission, simply because we as a culture like straight smiles. Listen, we have to flex on Europeans with something, to the point where now, if you have jacked teeth, it might actually be a disadvantage, not just in your personal life, but in your career. I had braces for 4 years. Prior to that, my teeth looked like Tic Tacs breakdancing, and I'm very grateful that I got my braces, especially at that young of an age. Think about how odd that would sound to a person who comes from a culture where having your normal teeth was just expected. Which goes to show you how we just let some cosmetic procedures slide for, pretty arbitrary reasons. I guess maybe teeth are like lower on the hierarchy of things that you can change about yourself before people stop caring. I would not be surprised if younger generations just started normalizing smaller nips and tucks, especially as they become more accessible and more ubiquitous. And can you blame them when considering that when cosmetic procedures are done right, it can quite literally afford you a whole career? If you want a perfect case study as to how our culture and society and us as the public reward altering your appearance and cosmetic procedures, look no further than Bella Hadid. Now look, I like Miss Bella, okay? This is not meant to be shade towards her as an actual person. She seems very sweet. I get why people like her. Not to get all crystally and metaphysical, but she does have a nice vibe, an aura, if you will. I don't like to use new age terminology because it's so vague, but they kind of popped off with these terms, I don't know how else to describe it. She is one of the it girls of the internet age, one of the most successful modern day high fashion models. Now, would she have the career that she does? Not to mention millions of people adoring her, thinking of her as a beauty icon, being a mainstay on Pinterest mood boards. Had she not altered her face? Let's be honest, no. And I'm not saying that she was ever ugly, but that very, sculpted look with those cheekbones that could cut glass, with a nose that was altered until it was considered acceptable and not too ethnic, having a look that not only allowed her to fit into the high fashion world, but would be considered ideal for, the average individual person. This is why having distinct features might work if you're doing a shoot for Mugler, but it's not necessarily going to do anything for you if you're on Instagram. Her being able to tap into those two separate markets is also a reason for her success. With a look that is so idealized that she got named scientifically the most beautiful woman in the world. The calculations for these are always odd. And do you expect any kid, especially any young girl, witnessing all of this unfold, to buy the line that you should embrace how you look naturally, that looks don't matter? And again, I'm not saying all this to pass judgment on Bella. I had a lot of insecurities when I was 14 years old. The difference is my family would have never allowed me to go under the knife. And I mentioned this in my Nepo Baby video. Now, this is me speculating. You know that growing up, having a very pretty older sister, the amount of people in that absolute orthorexic purgatory that is Calabasas probably came up to her as a child and went, "Oh, you're Gigi's sister. Oh, okay. That's weird, because she's really pretty. Yeah. It's she looks like your mom. Yeah, she's really, really pretty. I just didn't think you guys would be sisters." Yeah. Again, I know some of y'all might be getting PTSD flashbacks from that, but you know that she probably was getting a bunch of backhanded statements like that made to her. Okay, that's enough to break anyone down. And not to mention, you already got the procedure done. The floodgates are already open. So now it's a lot easier to be well, I can get this done. Once that scalpel has been laid on your skin, it's a lot easier to justify any other treatments. And let's be real, you feel more confident about yourself. You certainly look more conventionally attractive. The people around you are telling you how good you look. You look so pretty. Oh my gosh, that nose really suits your face well. Every other procedure that you get, the compliments keep piling in. The job offers keep piling in. Do you see what I mean? Of course you're going to be incentivized to do more. Now you compare somebody like Bella to Millie Bobby Brown. This is another lovely young lady who also got work done at a young age. The difference is that she was met with an onslaught of mockery and criticism for looking older. Same with those 3 women from that British psyop Love Island, because they got procedures, it's usually filler, that used to be exclusively done on older women. And our brains are so unaccustomed to seeing those procedures on a younger face that it just ages them. Now, of course, like most celebrities, they deny it, maybe because they're embarrassed, I don't know, or their team is telling them not to say anything, or because they know that the second that they admit to anything, they're inviting even more unsolicited opinions from the public. The problem is not that these women all got tweaked at a relatively a young age. It's that, unlike Bella, their work was not seamless. It's not that they did it, it's that they didn't do it right. The qualms that people had regarding Bella's procedures had nothing to do with her face card. It's that she refused to acknowledge it, which again, allegedly, but also, come on. That, if anything, is actually what started to annoy people. A lot of the premature anti-aging procedures, which is these preventative facelifts, I think is what they're being called, in women under the age of 40, is clearly rooted in just classic ageism. It never goes out of fashion. Now, what is infuriating is some of the people who will criticize these younger women for getting these procedures done, or at least not understand why they would do it, and then turn around and comment on an older celebrity who they think looks good with this diabolical phrase. See, this is how you age when you're unproblematic. Hello? You're literally equating looking your age, or just looking old generally, to being immoral, like you're a Disney villain and not a fun one. And once again, the person in question that they're talking about is usually someone who isn't even necessarily natural. They've just had better work done. This is what I mean when I say that certain people will actively contribute to plastic surgery culture without even realizing it. And I say people, but like, I'm also guilty. Now, I've never gotten any procedures done. I probably won't.
Because you don't have the money.
Shut up. I don't think I will ever get these procedures done. However, it is pretty easy when you're young to go, I would never do that to my face. I don't understand why people can't just age naturally. Like, what happened to aging gracefully? Like, maybe talk to me in about 30 years. And I still don't think I'm gonna get any procedures done because it freaks me out too much. I genuinely think this industry is unethical. But again, it's pretty easy to pass judgment on a lot of these women when you're not in their shoes. But that being said, I have a bunch of skincare products. Like, I am very, very strict when it comes to my skincare routine, right? Like, I do believe in taking care of yourself and being moisturized. I mean, technically, that is good for your skin health, but a lot of it is also for aesthetic purposes. I don't want my black to crack, and that really doesn't have anything to do with health. I can't exactly sit here and judge a lot of these women too harshly for their own vanity and indulging their insecurities when I'm on the lower end of the spectrum. Now, morally, this is kind of where I hit a wall. I don't think that if you wear makeup or you have a skincare routine, you're a bad person. You're upholding the misogynistic ideal. That's a reductive belief system, especially considering how much this ideal is shoved down our throats. It's not surprising when people develop a complex and just want to survive in our society. Not just survive, thrive. But some of these critics and activists are not exactly wrong that I am actively contributing to the cosmetics industry. And no, I don't think this is interchangeable with the whole, like, you criticize capitalism, but you still live in a capitalist system. As opposed to what? What do you expect people to do? Pull a Ted Krasinski, you have to have a job. I don't think that's comparable, okay? Because I don't have to wear makeup. But the question still stands. Am I willing to sacrifice my own vanity and just deal with my insecurities raw by not participating in the cosmetics industry, which is an offshoot of the plastic surgery industry? It's less invasive. I mean, it's under the same umbrella. Am I willing to actually live by my beliefs? No. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Thank you. Yeah, there's merch outside. Okay, what do you want me to say? No, I'm not proud of it, but I'm being honest. See, this is what sucks about being contemplative. You stare into the abyss too long, and it calls you a hypocrite. I don't know. This is the problem with any sort of discourse on this topic. It's not like you can be held personally responsible for living, in a system that you did not create, even though we are participating in it. But what do you want me to do? I like my winged eyeliner. But that's the thing that sucks, is if I know that I look good in the video, people are gonna watch it for longer. The thumbnail is gonna do better. It's about numbers, baby. It's not great, but you see what I mean? I can't exactly judge these women that harshly when it's like same general spectrum, and I'm just at the lower end. I don't exactly know if there is a solution to this. This is the problem. I like to ramble and yap, but I don't have any solutions. I don't know who you think I am. I mean, I guess the only thing left to do is just detach from this material world. Have you heard of a little something called Heaven's Gate? I'm revamping it, but this time I'm doing it right. My calculations are correct. I guess a start would just be to use social media and the internet less, which is actually a solution for a lot of insecurities that people have. You can actually start looking at real people, older people. Just go to an old folks home and start poking them and asking how the Dust Bowl was. Or you know what? You can actually get proactive and burn down your local esthetician's office that offers Botox. And now you're in jail awaiting trial, so I guess wrinkles aren't your biggest problem anymore. See, maybe I actually do have solutions. Honestly, the biggest one is probably to just stop looking at yourself so much. If anything, that has actually been the one change that reduced my hyperfixation on my facial insecurities. And to ensure that I don't pass these unrealistic ideals onto the next generation, I'm just just going to teach my children that all media is witchcraft. A moving image, that's the devil's work. So they'll just never consume it. Matter of fact, the only thing I'm letting them consume is pamphlets, tiny books, flyers, nutrition labels, manifestos, CD backs. Yeah, that's about it. And if you want to sit there and go, that's what are you, the state? Anyway, thank you for watching. Shout out to my top patrons. If you would like to donate to my Patreon, please click on the link in the description or down below. Thank you to my other lovely patrons. Your name should be scrolling on screen as I speak. Bye.